May has taken calls from the public as she gets ready for a cross-country tour in support of her Brexit deal. But with issues still outstanding ahead of a crucial EU summit on Sunday, a final agreement is far from guaranteed. RT UK's Issa Ali joins me now for more on this. So there, Issa, Theresa May facing the public again.
Yes, she is, and your mention of cross-country gives me nightmares from my high school days, but it's been perhaps a bit of an easy one for Theresa May because she's gone and faced the public again. In fact, this is the second interview in a week. She last week was on LBC listening to callers, and this time it was the turn of the BBC officers to host the Prime Minister. Now, last year, the Prime Minister was accused of ducking away from leaders' debates on TV during the run-up to the general election. Now she's taking her tour to really get the country's support for her Brexit deal head on, and she really wants to get the country on side, and it's not just, of course, the politicians who she needs to convince. Now, there were a couple of issues that the Prime Minister wasn't so forthcoming on. One of them, whether the deal that she's trying to get approved, the withdrawal agreement, is better than actually staying within the EU, and also whether she would resign if her deal wasn't able to get through at the House of Commons, and that was something that she wouldn't be drawn on.
I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about getting a deal through that delivers for the people of this country. That's what drives me, and that's what is at the forefront of my mind.
So no plans to resign?
My focus is on getting this deal through.
Now, Theresa May is due to return to Brussels tomorrow. She was there, of course, earlier this week, hoping to get that political declaration approved, and she'll be hoping that that can be done by Sunday, because that's when EU leaders will hold their summit to sign off on the Brexit withdrawal agreement. However, there are some obstacles to overcome, not least in the form of the Spanish government. Their Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, saying that actually the issues around Gibraltar are a huge outstanding issue, because as far as the Spanish are concerned, of course, they still maintain a territorial claim over Gibraltar, which is, of course, part of British territory, and they feel that if Gibraltar is party to any future trade agreement with the United Kingdom between the UK and the EU, then that is them tacitly accepting that Gibraltar is British territory. And of course, that's something which they are in no rush or in any way prepared to do. And they're saying that they're willing to be the ones who stand against that from happening, against the whole deal from going through. And of course, the other EU, the other 26 of the EU 27 leaders are not willing to progress if Spain isn't happy with how things stand. And it's not just on the continent that the Prime Minister faces opposition. In the DUP, government partners in that confidence and supply agreement, they're holding their annual conference over this coming weekend, and it's expected that they're going to make it very clear to the Prime Minister that they're willing to vote against any deal that brings, as they would see it, Northern Ireland, and makes it further or diverged in terms of regulations from the rest of the UK. Of course, there are critics who point out that Northern Ireland already is diverged in some forms of legislation on things like abortion and gay rights from the rest of the UK. But nevertheless, the DUP sticking to their guns. And if they do, it's going to be very difficult for the Prime Minister to find the support in the House to get her deal approved.
Indeed, who be PMA? Issa, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Well, for more on this, I'm now joined by Professor John Ryan, Senior Partner at consultancy firm Brexit Partners. John, thank you very much indeed for waiting there. Well, we heard from Issa. Theresa May said there could be more uncertainty and possibly no Brexit at all if Parliament votes her deal down. I mean, it's a bold gamble. Do you think it'll work?
No. She's not going to get her agreement that will be agreed this weekend through Parliament, and the threat that there will be a no-deal Brexit is not realistic either. I don't think the Parliament would stand for that either. So she's gambling, and when she says that she's interested in the national interest, I think that that's slightly laughable, because basically she's more interested in her own position and trying to steer the Conservative Party through these troubled waters. So I don't think really she's got anywhere to go, but she keeps, saying these things, and it's really, she'll come back with a deal and it'll be voted down, because there are too many MPs in the Conservative Party who are against the deal. If the deal stands as it is, the DUP will vote against it. Labour gets its act together, it will vote against it. So the deal has nowhere to go. And then saying that there'll be a no-deal Brexit as a threat is very limp, actually.
Well, let's have a look then. Let's try the counter-argument. This will be the deal, despite Brexiteers and Labour MPs wanting to renegotiate. But that's not going to happen anyway, is it?
No, it's not going to happen. So there is no counter-argument. This deal was dead on arrival some weeks ago when we heard last week when we heard what was happening. There is no counter-argument to this. There is no way they can row back the DUP. Out of all the parties you can look at, on the Remain side, the SNP have been very, very coherent, and on the Brexit side, the DUP have been completely coherent, and they're not going to really fall into line with this deal. And the situation is looking pretty grim for her, but she might try and hang on. The problem is the backbenchers who might think about challenging her with a no confidence vote may lose that, and they're finding it difficult to get enough MPs to put letters in to the chief whip to actually do the challenge, and possibly they would lose that, especially if the person that would emerge from that group as a candidate would be Boris Johnson. I think she would probably win that battle.
Well, let's have a look then. What happens if it doesn't get through the Commons? I mean, a general election, a new Tory leader, extending Article 50. I mean, every other option causes more chaos, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, what we're seeing here is Parliament is not able to make a decision on this. So maybe you have to outsource the decision. And maybe also you look at whether the Conservatives would change their leader. Would that be helpful? As I mentioned just before, a no confidence vote or a challenge to her within the Conservative Party probably is unlikely to succeed in the short term. In the medium term, I think it probably will. But if she resigns, and she refuses to say whether she would resign if she couldn't get this deal through. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is a general election, and that might not look go well for the Conservative Party. So they might want to try and avoid that. The extension of Article 50 is the only way that the EU would possibly think about extending. Would possibly extend Article 50 is if we had a second referendum. That's the only one. A change of leader in the Conservative Party, a general election, from my understanding from talking to people in Germany, in France, in other countries, the only way they would consider extending Article 50 is if there was a second referendum.
Right.
And that's it.
Sorry.
Really?
I'm sorry, John. I was going to say, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. We're running out of time. Professor John Ryan, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.